The headlines. Flash flooding devastates part of Spain. More than 150 people are now known to have died. The BBC investigates sugar added to baby food in low-income countries in Asia and asks if there's a link to rises in obesity and diabetes. Now, as people in Southeast Asia get richer, parents are increasingly turning to convenience foods to feed their babies. These packaged foods are often promoted as healthy and key to supporting growth, but many of them contain added sugar. The same products that are being sold in mostly Western supermarkets have no added sugar. In the Philippines, the stakes are high. Obesity and diabetes rates are on the rise, and experts warn that a new type of malnutrition is emerging. Deadly rocket attacks continue across Lebanon and northern Israel. US envoys push for a ceasefire between the Israelis and Hezbollah. 5 days before the presidential election, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump turned their attention to the western battleground states of Arizona and Nevada.
Our headlines today. Troops are deployed to help in the rescue mission after devastating floods hit Spain, killing at least 158 people. The authorities say many more are still missing.
I'm live in Valencia, where the clear-up operation is underway, but there's growing anger from the locals about how long it took the authorities to warn them that the floods were coming.
GPs, care homes and hospices voice concern over the impact of higher employer national insurance contributions announced in the budget.
Also concerned farmers, who've described it as a double whammy, those changes to national insurance but also inheritance tax. I'm in a farm shop in Pontefract to find out what the impact could be.
Fresh from her picture with the Princess of Wales, Liz Hatton, the young photographer with the rare form of cancer, takes on a fashion shoot with her hero, Rankin.
From BBC London, I'm Victoria Hollins. A West London council has reached agreement with the electric bike hire company Lime after having threatened to ban the bikes from the borough. Brent Council had said local residents were angry at the number of bikes being abandoned on pavements. It struck a deal that will see the hire company create 200 bays by July next year and immediately reduce the number of its e-bikes in Brent by a third, from 750 to 500. A murder investigation has been launched in North London after a 62-year-old woman was stabbed to death on Wednesday in Enfield. The Met Police have arrested a 55-year-old woman on suspicion of murder. Detectives say she remains in custody. Tower Hamlets Council is changing the way it collects rubbish in a bid to stop piles of waste sitting on its streets for extended periods. From December, residents and businesses in parts of the borough will be given 2-hour daily time slots to put out rubbish. The Beck Theatre in West London will close in the new year, despite a local campaign to try and keep it open. Hillingdon Council had said it didn't want to see the venue shut and offered operators a peppercorn rent, but agreement can't be reached, and the venue is expected to close in early January. One of London's oldest and well-loved bagpipe girl bands is winding up after almost 100 years. The Dagenham Girls Pipers have performed all over the world, including for the Queen and Elvis. They'll be performing one final time at this year's Remembrance Sunday commemoration in Dagenham.
A friend of mine at school introduced me to the band. I wanted to go to Girl Guides, and she said, I've joined this band and they go all over the world. So I said, OK, I'll give it a go. And hence I'm still here.
Now, with a rugged landscape, forested hillsides, perhaps no surprise that Galloway has been selected by the Scottish Government to be the proposed site of the UK's first new national park in 15 years.
But before the consultation has even begun, residents divided over whether it could be a blessing or a curse.
Let's find out why. Our Scotland correspondent Lorna Gordon is near Gatehouse of Fleet for us this morning, which is, another stunning scene, isn't it? Another stunning place, Lorna. But you can understand, I suppose, some people are a bit concerned about protecting the peace and the beauty.
Yeah, it is a really beautiful part of Scotland, as you say, with rugged landscape and also a long coastline. Let me give you an idea of the geography here. Just across the water, you'd find the Lake District. That is one of England's national parks. Further north, way further north, you get Scotland's 2 national parks. And the proposal is that Galloway would become Scotland's 3rd. It has, though, been a very polarising debate. On one side, people say it would protect the area, bring in investment and jobs. Others say it would bring in restrictions to industry like farming and ruin the area, bringing in more tourists than it could cope with. There are strong sides on both sides of this debate on whether Galloway should become Scotland's next national park.
Galloway is a quiet corner of Scotland, known for forests, fields and beaches. But beyond the beauty, there are familiar rural problems: poor infrastructure, an ageing population. And now, disagreement over what to do about it. For some, the answer is to become a national park.
Also tonight, jailed for at least 17 years, the teenager who stalked and killed his 15-year-old girlfriend, Holly Newton.
With just 4 days to go before the presidential election, there is frantic campaigning. And we're in Arizona, beside the giant border wall separating the US and Mexico. Battling illegal immigration is one of the top issues on the minds of voters. Which of the 2 candidates has the best policies?
And heading from Portugal to Manchester, Sporting's 39-year-old Ruben Amorim is Manchester United's new head coach.
On BBC London, concerns that small businesses in the capital could go bust with higher costs and an increase in national insurance contributions.
Working our way away from COVID and the cost of living crisis it's just a further headwind to deal with. We've been on a journey over the last 2 years to consistently reduce costs to increase profitability, and this is just a further thing that's going to make that slightly harder.
Also on the programme, transport bosses agree to suspend strikes, avoiding next week's disruption on the Tube network. We meet Luke, whose life has been changed by children in need. He's now joining a familiar face to help others.
And I'm with the iconic Dagenham Girl Pipers as they rehearse for their final performance later this month, after being together for almost 100 years.